Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Orum, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Man, I'm excited to be here tonight. I'm excited to just share some information with all of you. I'm just excited to be excited. Is that okay? I tell you what, it's been a great week so far. Season 3 has really been a blast. We've had so much fun. We've empowered so many people. And, the greatness has just begun. We're really just getting started with some of the things that we're looking forward to for these our people. But before I get into those things, I really want to take the time again, as usual, to thank all of the people who have been and are supporting the Deep Dive podcast. It means more to me than you know. When you have people from all over the world acknowledging what you're doing, they're, focusing in on the messages of empowerment. And that's why I keep doing it, to be honest with you. So many people are getting so much mileage out of the messages that we share. So I'm happy for that. I'm excited. We've even welcomed the new country this year. I'm sorry, this week. So yeah, we're doing some great things. Continue to support the podcast. We're going to expand. We're going to continue to expand. Like, subscribe, download, and share. We say that every week, but I don't want to take for granted your generosity of time. So I certainly appreciate that. And we're just going to keep doing what we do. We're going to keep bringing these messages of empowerment, and hopefully you'll, gather something from these messages and implement it in your day-to-day lives. So I'm going to jump right into tonight's topic, but I'll tell you how this topic was derived. I had an opportunity this past weekend to share the stage with one of my mentors, Dr. Cindy Trim. And I got to tell you guys, it was absolutely incredible. It was absolutely impactful to share the stage with someone that is so brilliant, that with someone that has so much wisdom and knowledge. And, I was just so inspired to be a part of the weekend, and it was called Unstoppable. It was a women's empowerment event, women's empowerment weekend to celebrate Women's History Month. And but talking about unstoppable, Dr. Cindy Trim is unstoppable. And just the little bit that I had to share in terms of my offerings of empowerment, it also inspired me personally to be better than before. It do great things for people, but also to implement some of these things in my own personal life. And I wanted to share some of the messages that I shared with the audience of unstoppable people who are all successful in their own right. But I wanted to share something with the audience in the Deep Dive podcast because I think it's time for all of us to elevate who we are and what it is that we're doing with our lives moving forward. I think it's very important. And, over the past, however many episodes over the last 3 seasons, I've talked about certain aspects of what I'm going to share tonight, which is victory begins in the dark. I've shared elements of that, but I wanted to get into a little bit more detail because I think it's time for all of us to know where we are, but more importantly, where we're going, but how we're going to get there. What are some of the obstacles that are preventing us from getting to where we want to be? I think it all starts with the mind. It all starts with the mindset. Now, I'm sure every episode you hear me talk about the mindset because that's my thing. I've mentioned my book, The Mindset of a Champion, because I study the mind. That's my thing. It all starts with the mind. But even having this victory that begins in the dark, it's all about a mindset. What would cause someone to go through the work of life, right? Go through all of the nuances and challenges of life, but then not participate in the rewards of those efforts. Or in other words, you quit before you actually reap the benefit of all of your hard work. What would cause one to do that? That's what I want to share when I talk about victory begins in the dark. You may have heard me say this in a previous episode, but I want to expound upon it a little bit because I think it bears repeating. And I put it in the form of a question. That question is this: what's the difference between 11:30 p.m. and 12:01 a.m. every night? What's the difference between 11:30 p.m. and 12:01 a.m. every night? Now, I mentioned that to the audience of Unstoppable Women Leaders. And, I just kind of got some participation from the audience and I asked that question. And you get varying answers, but just cutting right to the chase so you'll understand. We all know that it's still dark, right? At 11:30, it's dark at 12 p.m. But what happens at 12:01, there's a transition where the thing is, light is on the way because darkness ends at midnight and it starts progressively getting lighter at 12:01. That's how that cycle works, right? So 11:30 is dark, 11:30 is night, 12:01 is a new day, but it's still dark. How would you know that it's a new day if you did not have a clock or watch or whatever to know what time it was? How would you know? You wouldn't. You wouldn't know. But that clock gives you a reference point in terms of letting you know that it's the dawn of another day, even though it's dark. Daylight is coming, but here's how that's relevant to you. A lot of people are living their lives and it's dark. I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean it from a standpoint of you just don't know what's about to happen, right? Because it looks the same. You're putting in the work, but it looks like it did yesterday or last year. You're putting in the work, but it's still dark. You don't know something is happening. But I want you to know, and I'm here to share with you that daylight is coming. And so is your victory. You just can't see it because the dark is the dark. 11:30 and 12 o'clock, it looks the same. But daylight is coming. There has been a transition that has already taken place. You just have to remain steadfast and do the things that you need to do because daylight is coming. It just still looks dark to you. But I want to encourage you that daylight is coming. I've had these similar type experiences in my life where, I'm working so hard on something, whatever it may be. And it's like, man, I don't see any results. God, I know it's not in my time, but your time. I know it's not my will, but thy will. But man, I just don't see it. I'm working so hard. You don't see it and I don't see it, or I didn't see it simply because it's still dark, but that transition has already taken place. You're already in a new day, even though it still looks dark. You're in a new day. You just can't see it. Wow, that's deep. But what that should encourage you to do is to keep fighting, to keep persevering, because we don't know where we are in terms of the physical daylight manifesting itself, where you can actually see the results. We just know it's coming. We just know that we've made that transition, right? What God has ordained for your life, it will come to pass. It is already done. We just have to do our part. See, it's not up to our time frame. It's up to God's time frame. We talked about in many episodes in the past about how you have to build capacity. You have to be ready for your blessings. Otherwise, those blessings can't be bestowed upon you. So it's not totally in our time. It's in God's time, but we have to do what we need to do in terms of building capacity, being obedient, understanding that it may be dark, but lightness is on the way. All of these type things. My question to you as a man or woman of God, will you praise him while you're still in the dark? Will you praise him while it's still dark? That's my question to you. Are you still going to be obedient even in the midst of this darkness? Are you going to praise him even in the midst of this darkness? Because see, a lot of people, they give up, they quit. Something that I want to reiterate that I've talked about over the past few episodes. Something has happened since the beginning of the pandemic where humanity has lost hope in life. Humanity has lost as a whole. They've lost hope. And so they're now turning to negative thoughts and negative ideologies. And, these thoughts are starting to really take root in people's lives. And I think part of it is physical. I think some physical things happened during the pandemic, but I know a lot of mental things happen. So you're in the darkness, you don't see things happening, you don't see a way out, yet we're asking you to be faithful, right? We're asking you to wait, W-A-I-T, and get up your weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, in terms of your capacity, but you don't see it happening. Well, it's not totally up to us other than we got to conquer our thoughts. Darkness is not going to last forever. This is not going to continue forever. It's not. And all of the things that we run from, all of the negative things that we put in our mind, hey, look, we got to understand that this darkness is not, the light is here. We just got to go through it. The time to show what you're made of is when it's dark and you don't see the light. But you got to conquer those thoughts first. Because again, the pandemic, because what the pandemic did, not just the physical aspect of it, but again, being locked away for a couple of years where you're isolated from people. You're separated from people. You can't see people smile because they're all wearing masks. You can't feel proper energy because you can't get close enough to people to feel proper energy. You can't have one of those there are 6 human needs, 6 needs that every human needs. And though that one of those things could not be fulfilled because you couldn't really hug people or touch people, right? That physical interaction is one of the 6 human needs. So it has caused us to think a certain way. It's caused us to think in a negative standpoint. And you know what? We got to reverse that trend on the light. We got to reverse that trend. Thoughts will tell you that you're going to never get out of debt. You'll never get out of debt. That's what the thought will tell you. So you'll just do things and it's like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm always going to be in debt anyway. So it doesn't matter that I run up this credit card. It doesn't matter that I do this. I'm going to always be in debt anyway. That's the trick of a devil. You can't think that way. You have to think beyond that. You have to think superior to that. People may think, well, you're never going to amount to anything because of what has happened over the past couple of years. You can't think that way. You got to conquer these thoughts. There's a big deal going on right now about mental health and mental illness, and very, very valid because a lot of people are suffering in silence from mental health or mental illness. We have to conquer certain thoughts so that we don't become subjected to mental disease, right? Some people are saying, well, look, I'm sick, I'm going to die, I just accept it. You got to conquer that thought. You have to conquer that thought because those thoughts don't necessarily have to be your reality. Some people may think, well, look, I can't do this or I can't make it work. Well, look, if you're going to live and you're living, you got to go through work anyway. You got to do something. If you're here, you got to do something. If you got to put in the work, you may as well put in the work in terms of progressing your life Not anything negative like saying, I can't do this or I can't make this happen. So what are you going to do? What's the alternative? To die? If you're going to live, you may as well make this the best life that you possibly can, even though it's dark. Your victory lies within that darkness. Some people may say, well, I'm never going to meet the right person. I'm never going to meet the right person. Change your mindset, change your attitude, because when you become what you seek will come to you. When you become what you seek will come to you. So when you say you never meet the right person, well, you become the right person. That right person will come to you. But if you're suffering from stinking thinking, ain't nobody trying to be around you. I run away from negative, toxic people. I do, because energy is real. The laws of attraction are real. You can bring those things into your life that you don't want to have in your life just by being a negative person. Some people are so negative and frustrated and disillusioned about everything. It just drives me absolutely mad. It drives me mad. Not because of me, because I'm not going to allow you to affect me, but it drives me mad for you, because you deserve more. You deserve better than to always wallow in mediocrity, always wallowing in negativity. That has to be that has to be a bad way to live. Every time you look around, you're saying something negative, or you're talking about people, or all this other kind of stuff. That can't be a good way to live. You may ask yourself this question, these thoughts. Again, we're talking about conquering these thoughts. You may have a thought that, you know what, you're never going to reach your dreams. You've done this, you've tried this, you've done this, you've tried this, you've done this, and you've tried this, and you still don't have any results. Well, again, you don't know where you are in that spectrum between darkness and light. You don't know where you are between 11:30 p.m. and midnight. You don't know where you are on that scale. That's up to God. You just have to do the work. So when you say you've never reached your dreams, how do you know? You're still here. You're still here. That victory begins in the dark. Yes, it may be dark. Yes, you may not see it. But don't quit. Don't quit. You got to keep pushing. You have to understand, you got to conquer these thoughts. The right mindset, there's that word again, the right mindset to conquer these thoughts is this. Tell yourself, yes, it's dark. No, I don't see anything changing right now, but I'm not worried. I'm not fretting. I know it's after midnight, so I know the light is coming. Man, that's powerful. That's deep. When you can say that to yourself, just me saying it, I didn't realize the magnitude of what it meant until I said it. I'm going to say it again, and I want you to grasp this, because this is the conversation that you need to have with yourself in order to conquer all of these negative thoughts that have permeated your spirit. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to converse with yourself. Tell yourself, affirm this. Yes, it's dark, and I know it's dark. And no, I don't see anything changing right now, but I'm not worried. I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going to be depressed about it. I'm not going to fret over it. None of that stuff. Because I know it's after midnight. That's the key. That's the key word. Even if you're tricking your mind, I know it's after midnight, which means the light is coming. Daytime is coming. You see? So that's the difference between that 11:30 p.m. and that 12:01 a.m. Guys, I'm here to tell you the light is coming. I'm here to tell you that light is coming. You have to conquer these thoughts. You have to understand that, yes, it's dark, but it's okay. I'm going to be okay. Things are going to be okay. Things are going to manifest themselves in a positive way. You have to get out of your own way. Make sure you get out of your own way, because there may be something that's blocking your growth. You don't want that something to continue to block your growth. It could be a person. You could be in a relationship. It's a toxic relationship that's blocking your growth. You can be in a good relationship, but you can be in a good relationship relationship with someone that may not understand your vision. They support you, they may not support and love your vision or understand your vision. I've had so many people say, well, why did you do this or why did you do that or why are you doing this or why aren't you doing that? Well, I'm not living my life. I'm living mine. And the fact that I'm living mine means I don't have to answer to you as to why I do what I do. People will say, well, why would you leave the medical profession to do business? What are you going to do to enhance my life? Because see, if I buy somebody else's opinion, if you buy someone else's opinion, you better be prepared to buy that lifestyle. And here's what typically happens. People that's giving you this advice, you don't want to live their lifestyle. No, no, no. You don't want to live their lifestyle. Most of the people. Most of the people. Because there's always people who are already negative and frustrated about their lives is going to tell you and give you advice about your life. Go fix your own marriage. Go fix your own life. Stop trying to tell me what to do or what not to do when you're not being culpable or responsible for the things that you're talking about. Now, I don't mean that maliciously. I'm just saying that, what's blocking your growth? It could be people that you're talking to. It could be situations and circumstances. It could be your job. Some people love their job, and that's great, right? But some people are there just out of necessity, putting food on the table, putting a roof over your head. Are you ever going to get to a point where you make a decision that you're better than your job and you want to create your own job, sign your own paycheck by creating your own business? You ever thought about that? Someone would say, well, look, I don't know how to create a business. How do I start creating a business? Just start. If you believe in your creator, then you already have the capacity to do anything. You just got to start. Or are you going to be a slave to that job? Are you going to be a slave to that job? A prostitute can't be a prostitute without a, right? So don't let the job pimp you. Be better. Be better. Be better. Be greater. What's keeping you from growing? Are you under the shade? Are you intimidated? Are you fearful about taking that step that's going to make you great? There are a lot of people who have a fear of failure, but then there are a lot of people who have a fear of success because they understand that with that success comes a responsibility, and they're afraid of that responsibility. If you're going to go for it, go for it. Go for it. Do it unapologetically. Go for it. Do you have friends that are blocking your growth? Do you have relatives that are blocking your growth? Is your job blocking your growth? Is your mindset blocking your growth? Are past relationships blocking your growth? What is it that caused you to think a certain way that will not allow you to understand that even in the midst of darkness, light is coming? Could you become if you decided to get out of the shade? I'm talking about the shade of darkness, right? And get into the light. What is it that you could become? How high could you actually go? Think about that for a second. Most times, the biggest obstacle of our success is our mindset. We're the biggest obstacle to our success most of the time. We can blame it on the white man. We can blame it on the government. We can blame it on our spouse. We can blame it on a whole lot of people. But for the most part, we are the biggest obstacles to how high we could go. So knowing that, you have to start having different conversations with yourself. This is why a lot of times when people come to me and they come to me with all of this negativity and all of these different challenges and things of that nature, my question becomes, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because it doesn't matter, at least to me, that if you're complaining about this, complaining about that, the government this, that, my job this, what are you going to do about it? Talking about it is not a solution, right? How high could you go if you start to do something about it? You still got time to become who you're supposed to be. I don't care if you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I have a lady I have so much respect for. Every time I get an opportunity to talk about her, I do. It's a lady in Ohio, in Cleveland. Her name is Atheta Rasul. I hope she don't mind me putting her name out there, but I'm putting it out there because I have so much respect for her. This is a lady that she's in her 90s. She got on my case once before by telling her exact age. So I won't tell her exact age. I'll just tell you she's in her 90s. Health challenges and everything. But it doesn't matter what it is she needs to do. She's pushing forward and forging ahead to make those things happen. And I so admire that. 90 plus years old and still pushing forward toward her dream, not just for her, but because I know her, I know she's doing it for her family members. I know she's doing it for her community, even at an advanced age. Yet we'll sit around a lot of times and have a pity party and not even try to pursue greatness. But it's not too late. You still can be what you're supposed to be. It's not too late. You just got to get out of the shade so that you can blossom. You got to get out of the shade so that you can blossom. But you have to understand that while it's dark, daylight is still coming. There's nothing wrong with you, the fact that you don't see anything happening. There's nothing wrong with you. That's human nature. You don't see it, but that's where faith comes into play. That's where your faith comes into play. And yeah, you get weary. Yeah, you may even start to question God. Like, hey, God, what about me? What's the problem? I'm tithing faithfully. I'm doing what's right because it's right, and I'm checking off all the boxes. What's the problem? You're the problem, and that is not willing to WAIT wait because daylight is coming. There's nothing wrong. There is no problem. There's nothing wrong. It's just that you cannot change time. You cannot do it. But you want to focus on the future because you know and you can claim that daylight is coming. So focus on the future. Don't let guilt stunt your growth. Don't let adversity stunt your growth. Don't let stress stunt your growth. Don't let family members stunt your growth. Don't let relationships stunt your growth. Stay focused on the future, what it is that you have to do. The enemy will remind you all the time, every opportunity that the enemy gets will remind you of every mistake that you have ever made. Oh my goodness. Let me say that again. The enemy is quick to remind you. They will always remind you of every mistake that you've ever made. That's because the enemy is trying to pull you back into mediocrity. The enemy is trying to pull you back into a mindset of brokenness. The enemy is trying to pull you back into a mindset of doubt. The enemy is trying to pull you back into a mindset of misery, hates to lose company. But you got to be better than. You got to be bigger than. You got to be greater than. You have to know that even in the midst of darkness, your victory is there. All right. So I just wanted to share that with you guys in the hopes that it will help you understand where you are, even in darkness, but understand that there is victory. Your victory lies within that darkness. Continue to praise him, even though it's dark. Continue to praise him. Continue to not only lift yourself up, but lift up people around you. Don't tear people down. Lift people up. There's enough of that going on out there. Lift people up. Understanding that, yeah, it's dark, but my time is coming. The darkness is not going to last always. Okay? Daylight is on the way. But you just need to be prepared. You just need to be prepared. Go through and do your work right now while you have an opportunity, even though it's dark. Go through and do your work. Do what you have to do. Become who you have to become. Don't stop lifting weights, W-E-I-G-H-T, because that builds your capacity. So continue to lift the W-E-I-G-H-T weights while you wait, W-A-I-T, while you're transitioning from darkness to light. All right. So I hope this helps somebody. I know for me, it helped me a lot just to be able to share this message with people at the Unstoppable Women's Empowerment event, just through episodes of the podcast, just to be able to bring this to you, because I know for a fact, if you take this information and apply it to your life, you know that the victory is yours. Name it, claim it, own it. All right. So I appreciate you joining me on this episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Continue to like, subscribe, download, and share. Support the podcast. Go to the website, the deepdivepodcast.live, L-I-V-E. Go to YouTube. Check out the video versions of the episodes. I'm going to be doing some tweaks to that soon that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. And let's continue to be great together. All right. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. God bless you, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world. Take care.